Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the User Join Your Channel podcast. This will be happening weekly. So we try to give you all sorts of updates on gaming news, world news, and news to our wonderful sponsor, which is the 32nd Ranger Battalion, which is a ArmA 3 type community that's kind of let us use their TeamSpeak and let us record in there. So I'm joined today with my friend here, Kendall.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Yep. And now now this begins the fun part, where we're going to go ahead and talk about everything news related with gaming. But unfortunately, what is going on here? Okay, never mind.
Kendall, how did you actually come to join the 32nd or get into this whole ArmA community type mindset?
Okay, well, I'm going to start off from my origins into gaming, which was originally Call of Duty, actually. When I was 8 years old, I was at a cousin's house, and we played through the original Modern Warfare campaign. That was, like, the best campaign ever. Still, in my opinion, that's just the best, most well-written campaign that I've ever played through.
Mm-hmm.
Not just for Call of Duty, but for pretty much every game. Like, it definitely beats Battlefield, because Battlefield's campaign sucks. It beats every other Call of Duty campaign. Modern Warfare 2 campaign was actually really good as well, but something didn't really equate to the Modern Warfare campaign. So that's how I really got into gaming, and I never had an Xbox. I only had a Wii, the original Wii at home.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of... It got boring after a while, and we eventually got an Xbox 360. Actually, no. My brother got an Xbox 360, and he left it here with me, with a plethora of games, such as Cameron's Avatar, the game. That was the first game that I owned for the Xbox 360, and I played through the entire campaign. That was so fun for what it was, because a lot of people are saying, oh yeah, like the Avatar game is really bad, but the campaign was on point. Not even joking, they had everything right. The story, the characters, everything. Gotta hand it to the developers. I've forgotten who you are. But then that's what got me into Call of Duty and online gaming, and that's when I got an Xbox Live account. And from there on, it was people call me a peasant for having an Xbox and not a PC. So eventually we got a PC, at which point I began playing Minecraft, as every small child does when they get their first PC.
That is true, yeah.
Yeah, and this was like way before it came out on the Xbox 360 or the Xbox One or anything like that. This was like 2011, I think. So yeah, that was really my introduction to gaming, and then from there it was just I got a Steam account and I was buying games left, right, and center, and it just launched from there. My deep and dark descent into gaming started there. And yeah, after a few years, I got ArmA 2, and I played with mods on there with a few units, but you know, I kept getting kicked because of age restrictions, but that's all good now.
Yep.
So after ArmA 2 Milsims, I decided to move on to ArmA 2 DayZ, and when that kind of died out, which was when I got BattleEye banned, don't tell anyone, that I got DayZ Standalone, and that was, oh my god, that at the time, people called it really bad, but it was so fun at the time because everything was new, the mechanics were new.
Yeah, it was.
It's just something people never played before. The DayZ Standalone, they're like comparing it to the DayZ mod. Obviously, now that I look back on it, the DayZ mod was way better than the DayZ Standalone. Maybe it's just because of nostalgia or something, but the DayZ Standalone at the time, the graphics, the mechanics, everything, it was just like this had never been done before.
Mm-hmm. you have to add in the factor that DayZ mod had years of development, and where the standalone had just come out. And to be honest, I like the concept of the standalone, but unfortunately, there's just the hours and the experience just weren't behind it. And even now, there is actually a very good update that came out for the standalone that kind of makes it a lot more playable. So right in the middle, it was kind of unplayable, but now it's a lot better, at least for frames and game mechanics. I think.
Yeah, shout out to Brian Hicks for releasing DirectX 11 on DayZ standalone.
Yeah. I think. No. Okay. I think. I think we kind of like share a little bit as far as our introduction into gaming. I had this similar transition from Xbox to actual PC gaming, PC Master Race. Anyway, I started with, I think, oh my goodness, I remember watching my on holidays when relatives would come over, or I would go over to relatives' houses. Remember watching my uncle play an old Resident Evil game. I don't even remember what it was, on a Dreamcast. I was like, that's pretty cool. He's kind of making the screen do whatever he wants. I was a little kid at the time. I didn't understand what was going on. And so that kind of gave me a little taste of gaming. And then I got into, I think the first console I ever had was a 360. And dude, the first game that I got was Call of Duty 3. And everyone on the internet, let me let you know, everyone on the internet hates Call of Duty 3. I love Call of Duty 3. I'm one of the few people that love Call of Duty 3. I thought that was an amazing game. I could tell you every sequence, every level. I played that game so many times. I was terrible at multiplayer, so I didn't even touch that. But the campaign, that was a beautiful, beautiful game that was put together. And then I played other stuff, so that kind of got me. I went straight head on into FPS with Call of Duty 3, and then I transferred into Wii, which was garbage. And I got
that was a dark time.
Yeah, there's just like pretty much nothing that came out for the Wii, like real crappy like kitchen games, and Harry Potter was coming out at the time, or just coming out, and so you had those types of games on there. It was ridiculous. And then all the Wii Fit stuff that was coming out. I tried Call of Duty on that. That was terrible. I tried Battlefield on that. So bad. So I was always kind of searching for something new. So then I found Minecraft, and I also found a few YouTubers on just kind of playing some PC games, and I was like, you can play games on the computer? And then that kind of confused me for a little bit, so I tried out Minecraft, as every kid does. And that kind of filled a void for about a year. I got bored with that, and I found DayZ mod. I was like, okay, that's pretty interesting. And I was figuring out all this stuff. I was like, oh my goodness, it's so crazy. There's so many, like, the whole bandaging system and the whole, like, zombie to human interaction. I thought that was crazy. So I was like, I gotta get ArmA 2. I gotta get a Steam account. I gotta get down DayZ mod. So I got a Steam account, and I just spent so much money on all the ArmA 2 stuff, all the DLC, all the extra games, and the DayZ mod, and I spent so many hours on different servers. And then I figured out, hey, there's a milsim side to this. So I think, oh man, what was my first... Kendall, do you remember your first unit? Your first community in ArmA 2?
Oh, jeez. I remember it had a Z in it, and it was like 4 guys, and we had like an absolute ton of mods. Like at the time, before my PC's been upgraded to what it is today, I had 6 gigabytes of RAM, GTX 320 by NVIDIA, a 1 terabyte hard drive at like 5,400 RPM,
Mm-hmm.
and an i3 CPU. Those were some dark days for ArmA.
Yes.
That was terrible experience for me, and I don't know, on the DayZ mod it ran really well, but as soon as I loaded all those mods, nope.
Oh, it seemed like I always thought that the ArmA 2 days were always sort of the glory days, and now going back to it after playing ArmA 3,
it's so bad, man. I even still see communities this day that are still clinging on to ArmA 2, still trying to keep that little niche market, that little tiny player base, and it's bad. It's practically unplayable. And
Yeah.
I remember my first community, and I'll explain what we're talking about here in a minute, but it was a ranger like type army community, and it did actually have quite a few years under its belt, and it had a lot of community. I think it's still going on today, but in ArmA 3. But I went pretty far high into that. That was really good. We had a lot of good laughs, a lot of good fights in there. That was a real good unit, and I eventually was discharged from that unit, and I went my separate ways. But those guys were fun. It was I think the name was 21st Rangers. Those guys were interesting, to say the least. But
Yeah.
let me go ahead and explain what we're talking about here a little bit. We're talking about a specific subsection of playing a army simulator. Excuse me. ArmA and the whole army experience is a army simulator. Even some military groups play it. So it's a very high standard military simulator. And what we do is we essentially do a military sim. We take organization and we take tactics and we apply it to the scenarios that we've set before ourselves. And there are a couple other different stuff, a couple different applications that we use, website, TeamSpeak, other things like that, and how mods are integrated within those things to connect. And it's a lot more technical, but that's the whole pan over of what we do here, and that's actually what has brought us here today. Is the next game has come out, ArmA 3, and communities are still going strong. Websites like ArmA Clans or even the BI forums for the game producer, at least. Those things are still going strong with people who are trying to figure out this whole ArmA experience, trying to get the best that they can out of ArmA. And I think me as a gamer, I've matured a lot. I've seen a lot of different things. I went from first a Minecraft player on PC to an RPG player to an FPS player to a kind of simulation type style play, back to an RPG, back to more a strategic type player. And it's been real fun. And Steam has really, I think, empowered me to kind of experience this whole gaming community, because there's so many different types of things. There's so many different groups and communities in gaming that it's really hard to pin it down. That's why I don't think some of the other media, or let's say the outside world, doesn't really understand, because there's so much. We've been evolved so far along past the gaming kind of shield or threshold, that we're so far past that it's so much for outside media or the outside world to kind of take in and understand what it is to be a gamer. Would you agree? Or
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think the media, especially big media like CNN, for example, they completely mistake exactly what gaming is. They're like, oh yeah, if you play games, you're gonna get fat and you're gonna get lonely and you're gonna die. No, it's nothing like that. Gaming is about the community, and that's what I've stood by for a long time. Ever since I discovered TeamSpeak, and I discovered TeamSpeak back in the TeamSpeak 2 days, you know, the lips. Actually, I think that's vent, but I don't remember which one came first, but one of them stole the design off the other. But that was back in TeamSpeak 2, and that was Minecraft, and that was ArmA 2. Going back to ArmA 2, just briefly, my first unit, this was before Task Force Arrowhead Radio, which is the mod that gives you a soundscape for ArmA 3 for your voice. So it channels that through TeamSpeak into ArmA 3, and it just means that there's pretty much 3D voice. And this was before that. So the number one rule that I remember, and it's the only rule that I remember from that unit, is if you die, don't talk. That's stuck with me for a long time. Like, even if I die now, like, knowing that it doesn't even matter, I just don't talk.
Yeah, in game.
And it's stuck with me for a long time.
Yeah, people were.
But yeah.
People were real big into that one type, like one life type rule inside of their scenarios or inside their missions or operations that they were doing. And even it came to a point where there was a plugin that came out, I don't know if you knew, that would not only did you have Task Force Radio or Task Force Arrowhead, but it was a plugin that would essentially mute your mic if you did not have that plugin or enabled, or if you died, just because there was such high demand of people being that serious or that into the game. And I don't know, ArmA 2 was a real good game. I really enjoyed it. It's unplayable now to me because I've seen the advances, but I think it was a real good game. It was real. Bohemia Interactive have really made something for themselves, at least when progressing to ArmA 3. But going back on the media type thing, I would say that, you know, media's done themselves a big disservice, because now you look up with what was it? League of Legends just not just held a tournament, but they held a tournament, and it was like something like 20 million people online were watching, and about 50,000 people in the stadium. You know, this is gaming and esports, and all these different subsections of gaming have grown so much bigger, and it's almost gone to the point where it's almost getting bigger than actual national sports for some countries. And the media has done themselves a big disservice when they fail to recognize that. Now, like, what is the average gamer from media perspective, Kendall? It's fat guy, lives with his mom in his basement, giant beard, long hair, pimples all over his face. You know, that's not what gamers are. Gamers, if you look at all the esports players, they're a bunch of fit, skinny guys that, you know, they're practical bodybuilders at this point. I can think of, you know, Skadoodle. He's a professional Counter-Strike player. That guy's not a fat guy that lives in his mom's basement, you know. And it's real sad to see to have us betrayed when, you know, an older gentleman would say, "Oh, you're still living in your mom's basement." Well, you know, our sport, what we consider our sport or our hobby, has grown bigger than golf, bigger than football, bigger than baseball. You know,
bigger than South Korea.
Yeah, to be honest, it's ridiculous.
South Korea. I don't know if some of you guys know this, but South Korea now has special classes in colleges and universities for how to manage esports teams. And these are some big universities in Seoul that do that course. And that's just blown me away to see how massive gaming has got recently. I believe all this managing and big esports started in Counter-Strike 1.6, and that was not too long ago. And just to see it blow up, just like that.
Yeah, it's encouraging. I remember
it's mind-blowing, and I'm just happy to ride the wave.
I remember finally just first launching up Counter-Strike, and to be honest, I think I played Counter-Strike once and then stopped playing it for like 3 months, because it was just, Counter-Strike is kind of like, it's kind of the gamer's gamer. I mean, it was like Doom and the Unreal kind of whole engines and all that stuff. But that was kind of where it came out. But Counter-Strike 1.6, Source, and now Global Offensive, these aren't just, there are 5 players per team in game. There's a coach, there's a manager, there's so many PR guys, there's so many marketers, there's so many interviewers, there's so many casters, stuff like that. These are actual companies. These are big companies now that have to, almost to the point where, like, when they were just coming out, like, for Global Offensive, when they were casting it, they were kind of loose with their words. They could kind of be loose and just kind of talk and riff for a while and talk about the game and explain what was happening. But now you're kind of seeing it this year and the end of last year. In 2016, you can kind of see them be a little more professional because now they're big. They're a big company. Surprise pool for this last CSGO league was $1 million. And that's not like Dota 2. Dota 2 had a $5 million prize pool? Now that we're getting, that's insane. These are real companies, and you can't necessarily argument and say, it's just video games. Well, at the end of the day, I'm watching someone else play a game, and at the end of the day, you are doing the same with baseball, soccer, football. You're just watching someone else play the game. Go ahead.
I understand how some people, especially from the past generation, saying like everybody over the age of 30 at this point, I believe. I mean, there are definitely gamers over the age of 30. I'm just saying from a broad perspective that they tend to not tolerate that kind of thing, and I can get where they're coming from. Like, let's be honest here, it's not a real sport, esports.
A physical sport, I would say, yeah.
Because it's not a physical sport, but it is a sport of the mind. It's a sport of attention, and at the end of the day, it's real money and it's real companies. It's not some child's game anymore. It's people are striving, even in public competitive matches. I'm talking about CSGO now. People are striving to be in big teams. I'm talking about like joining a game and there's a 5-man pre-made and they all have their team logos as their Steam profile pictures. This is crazy. Everybody's striving to be at the top, and I just feel a great sense of community when I see this kind of thing happening, because people are congregating and they're wanting to win, whereas before that it was just people playing for fun. And now it's kind of more corporate, but at the end of the day, it's community, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a big thing that's coming out of gaming, and the whole gaming aspect is now you're having more corporate, bigger businesses, and I think it was probably the older crowd, and there are still a lot of gamers who are over the age of 30 or 35. I think it was like that right threshold where if you're maybe, let's say, 35, you either stuck with gaming or didn't, and anything after that, you're pretty much, you don't support gaming. I will say it like that. But I think you're seeing more corporate businesses come out of gaming because there is money to be made. That those little kids who are just dreaming of making games, who are playing on the N64, some of the, playing, Pong and stuff like that, they grow up through gaming and then realize, why don't I just do that? And so now it's becoming more corporate because they have grown up through gaming and can kind of understand the whole community and build something for the community that the community will enjoy, and then also make a profit out of that. And maybe it's also a little bit of outside, an older generation realizing, and this is just very little is this happening, but an outside generation coming out and realizing, oh, we made a mistake. There's something to be said for gamers. There's something to be done. We can definitely make some money out here, or at least further the gaming experience, let's say. Would you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I couldn't say anything more, to be honest. I've said what I have to say. And you're making some great points as well, and I totally agree with all of it. So there's not really much else I can say apart from what you've said, really.
We'll go ahead and look at our timestamp here as we're coming on. Let's give it a couple more minutes, and we'll go ahead and take a break and then come back with us. But I just wanted to talk about one last thing. As far as our whole background with gaming that comes up, it's a weird phenomenon of where what were kids who were, who played games? They were lame. They were you weren't responsible. You didn't take care of your grades. You were just a slacker. I heard that, to be honest, and then that's what drives people to games, is that sometimes it gets difficult. Life is very difficult, and it's not very forgiving.
Nice place. It's not a very nice place.
No. And so that's also a crowd that happens a lot. That's what happens in gaming, is that some people drive to games because it's very difficult to be themselves, and where you can go into a game and you can kind of disconnect from reality for just a little moment, or maybe not even disconnect from reality, but just kind of be yourself in game form. It's relaxing, and it relieves a lot of stress. Now, when you were called lame and you were called, just anything under the sun about being a gamer, now you're called everything under the sun because you aren't a gamer. Have you noticed that now?
Yeah, to name a few: peasant, poor, all the everything pretty much generally based around being poor or an idiot kind of falls under that being a non-gamer thing.
Yes,
but,
or
you wouldn't say that to the football lead. I don't know what you call it, jocks.
Quarterback,
I guess. I don't know. Quarterback.
Quarterback.
Yeah. You wouldn't say that to a quarterback, but you would definitely say that. I'm saying not you specifically. One may say you're a peasant for not playing video games, or you're a peasant for playing on consoles, but at the end of the day, everybody has played a video game. Everybody, even my grandma's played a video game. She's played on the iPad.
Yeah, I mean, your phones. Yeah, that's a big thing that's coming up now. Social media has been doing it for a little bit with Facebook, doing small games like I played them at the beginning. Excuse me there, but like Mafia Wars, Farmville, stuff like that. Phones are doing it. iPads are doing it. Even TV is doing it a little bit here, and everyone's trying to latch on. And I think it's quite sad that the older crowd, or let's say the more professional crowd, or you understand, the more corporate crowd doesn't understand and hasn't latched on what everyone else is kind of latching on, and this gaming thing has become growing. It's growing every day. If you look at Steam is just one platform to receive and buy and trade and play games. There are multiple different platforms. We can't look at the entire community of gamers. There's just so much stuff out there, and at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It is about the community. That's how you can evolve as a company, is just making something for the community, and that's why you see a lot of stories of companies that don't prosper because hey, there's this little update that you updated and the community doesn't like it. Either you continue on and you lose your player base, or you roll back some of the updates and then roll with what the community wants because community doesn't like it. So it's not like this collective thing that we're painting. It's something entirely bigger than that. And I've enjoyed being a gamer. I don't think I could ever say that I've wasted my time.
Yeah,
I think this is a very good experience, and it's a life not wasted, but a life worth living. And we're coming up about that half-hour mark, so if you want to take a break or not.
Yeah, we're going to cut that right here, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be back with you shortly. Alright, welcome back to User Joined Your Channel. We're here with the second segment, and I'm back. This is me, Kendall, and I'm with Rodriguez.
Hello.
And we're on our gaming news section. So first I'm just going to start with saying Overwatch, released 24th of May. That was 4 days ago, and it's been booming so far. YouTube, everybody's been covering Overwatch. I myself never really enjoyed the kind of FPS MOBA titles such as Team Fortress 2. It's not so much a MOBA, but I never really liked those kind of games because I never got the mechanics. However, it seems that a wide audience is enjoying that game a lot, and that's good for you guys because I myself think Overwatch is a good game if you are into those kind of games. I mean, I've seen gameplay, it looks fun, but I just don't feel as if I could get into that. What about you, Rodriguez?
I didn't enjoy Team Fortress and Team Fortress 2. I think personally on TF2 I sank somewhere about 250 hours into that game. I did enjoy it. Overwatch, it looks good. Here's what I like about games. Going back to our other discussion about communities and kind of the entry level of gaming, is I like when games give the option for non-gamers to come in and just pick it up. This game is not too graphic intensive. There's a lot of games that are coming out now, and even updates for games that are been out that are making, I can think of CSGO right now, a lot of the map updates where there's just so much stuff going on. There's so many polygons, there's so many angles for your eyes to take in. Where Overwatch, yes, there is some graphic intensive moments, and there's some abilities, there's some shooting, there's some action going on where it can get pretty hairy pretty quickly. But the whole cartoony, not real like super cartoony with a 3D type cartoony look to it, it's very smooth, and I personally I enjoy it. I haven't played it too much. I've played it a little bit. I need to sink a couple more hours into it to fully understand Overwatch, but I like the whole teamwork aspect that it's kind of taking from Team Fortress 2 and kind of taking it and making it its own thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it looks kind of like a Pixar animation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, but, building on that point, it is very easy for non-gamers to pick up that kind of game because, as you've said, it's not very graphics intensive, and it's just so simple. Not so much totally around the amount of polygons on the map or so much going on, even though there is a lot of stuff going on all the time. I mean how easy it is to just pick it up from the store, sit down on your console or on your PC, and you just play it, because it's one of those Team Fortress 2 games, because Team Fortress 2 and Team Fortress, they were free, and a lot of people played those, and they were just so easy to pick up. Not so much for me, because I never really liked those kind of games, but the pure simplicity of the controls, of the mechanics, and I just feel that Blizzard did a really good job with that, because anybody, I guarantee you anybody, even my grandma could pick up Overwatch and play it.
It's quite nice to always bring someone into the gaming community and bring them into games, or even someone who's already a gamer and changing them into another style. I mean, I was into Call of Duty and I changed into Battlefield. I mean, those are just 2 FPSs, but they're quite different. And then I changed into this whole, one just to yourself, kind of just, and into a kind of teamwork is what I'm trying to say, with ArmA. And then also Counter-Strike. I'm Counter-Strike is my new kind of game that I'm trying out. I have been trying it out for quite a while now, but every time that I get into it, it changes. And with Overwatch, it's kind of, I've already experienced it with TF2, but I like that Overwatch has done something different, and they've taken themselves, and it's kind of the same thing that's going on with TF2, but they've changed it to where, here's this character. Now this is the one thing that I'm not sure a lot of people will understand or even acknowledge, that all these characters do actually have backgrounds, and you understand why they're there and why they have these certain abilities, but it's going back on the TF2 thing where here are these characters, here are the amount of characters, here are the amount of people per team, here are their guns, here are their abilities, this is what they can do, get to this certain point and you can use these abilities. And I like that it's quite simplistic, but then complicated once you get further and further into it. And that's how TF2 was. I mean, on the base, it looked pretty easy, and then first couple games were pretty easy, and then when you realize what you're doing, they got that much harder, but then that much more rewarding, which is what I noticed about Overwatch.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't picked up the game myself. I don't really plan on doing so, but I probably will be in the future. I mean, such as The Division, it was fun for a little while. I'm saying like a month here, and the players just dropped off dramatically because they weren't updating it, they weren't doing anything with it. I mean, Ubisoft, please, come on, release something good with The Division, because I really enjoyed that game for the time that I played it, which was about a month, and then myself and my peers just started dropping off like flies. I mean, the game got really boring, and I don't want to see that happen with Overwatch. They're two different companies, but I know with the set things that both of the games have, such as set abilities, set weapons that do this amount of damage and this amount of damage only, for specific things. They have some things in common, like the shooter part of it. You run around, shoot things. That's and
yeah.
I just don't want to see Overwatch failing like that. I want to ride the wave. I want to see how it goes, and then maybe I'll pick it up.
I don't know if you've seen some of the videos on YouTube, but Overwatch has done a lot of things with streamers and YouTubers that they've sent them boxes, and here's a thing where a big company that's bringing a new game out. I mean, I don't know many people pay attention to the company side of it, but Blizzard is a very big company, and I'm pretty sure they're capable, but then again, you go back to The Division, like you were talking about. Ubisoft is a very capable company, but I think they've gotten too big. I think they've lost their way, and that's why they've lost their player base, and they've lost their community, and that's what we're trying to stress, is that gaming is a community. It's community sided, and it's not company sided, where it's out in the real world. I wouldn't want to say real world, but just so that other people understand that out in the real world it's completely flipped. But here's a chance where the community can really make a change. I want to say the same thing. I want to say that Blizzard is not going to fail as Ubisoft did with The Division. Division was a very good game, and I came out and I was like, I gotta spend $5,000 on a new computer because I've got to play this game. This thing looks awesome. I didn't do that, but I almost did. And I thought The Division was really great, and I was looking at a lot of stuff. I was researching a lot of stuff. I was watching people play. I was going over friends' houses and playing on their computer. Man, The Division looks so great, and it's saddening to see that's dying off. But the Overwatch, I hope they've got something different that'll take off with the community. I hope they keep on to that, because if it's going to be anything like TF2, I mean, TF2 has been out for how long, and they're still going. I mean, yes, their player base has died off some, but some of the veterans, some of the hardened players will continue on with it. And Overwatch and Blizzard have made themselves a market for the games that they already put out. But there's one thing I wanted to talk about. A very similar game to Overwatch. A very, very similar game. Battleborn. Battleborn came out, I believe, what was it, May 5th? Let me go ahead and make sure here. I lied. May 3rd. Battleborn had less development time than Overwatch, but I don't know if it's just me, but it's practically the same game. I mean, what you're doing in the game is different, but it looks like the characters.
Yeah, I mean,
it looks like the same game.
Not only that, but the whole Pixar animation thing, they look exactly the same on a first look basis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if you've watched the trailers for both of them, but if you put them side by side, I'll just be doing that in post right now. If you put them side by side, they look exactly the
I
same.
wasn't sure. Yeah,
I'm just gonna get straight to the point. They look the same, and I didn't know whether I was gonna stick with Battleborn or Overwatch, because Overwatch is made by what I believe to be a much bigger company. I forgot who developed Battleborn, but the fact that the fact that we don't know, it kind of means that Blizzard is the bigger developer here. And
Metacritic.
I'm
sorry, I lied. Gearbox.
Gearbox is a pretty big developer. They developed Borderlands, the Borderlands series. I love Borderlands, especially the first one. That was a hell of a ride.
Yeah.
I played that with my brother, and we had so much fun. You know, obviously I was pretty young when that came out. I didn't get some of the references, but now I actually played over it recently. Now I get a bunch of the references, and it's just so funny. Before I didn't find it that funny. I just thought, blowing people up and, shooting people's arms off was pretty cool. Like, that was the funniest part of it for me. But now that I get these references, now that I'm older, it's just one of the best gameplay experiences I've had.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the trailer of Battleborn. From what I can tell, it's not... The gameplay is different. It's still got that whole Pixar animation type thing, but the gameplay is different. I think it's kind of like a more team-based survival where... Excuse me. You progress through the level and progress through the map through waves. Kind of like, if you will, Left 4 Dead 2. There's just a wave of enemies every so often you keep going through. And from what I understand, I think some of the characters are over the shoulder, but I think a few of the characters are actually first person. But Battleborn and Overwatch. Battleborn kind of gave Overwatch a scare there. As I was trying to say is that Battleborn had less of a development time, where Overwatch had more of a development time, but Overwatch was announced first. They were announced, and then they had big of a hype, and Battleborn kind of came in and was like, oh, we got to jump on that. That's a good idea. And the whole kind of look and feel of it. I think Battleborn kind of came in and stole their thunder for a little bit, put it out first, and had people in-game first, and there were a few issues, but they were fixed immediately, where Overwatch had a couple closed betas, then an open beta, and then it was closed back down, and then now it's released. And I think Overwatch had to speed up their development time just a little bit more on some of the patches and some more updates because Battleborn came out, which I thought was pretty funny. But I think either people are going to try both, or for those who like Overwatch or for those who like Battleborn, they're going to choose their one. They're going to stick with their one. But I've seen some videos on Battleborn. I haven't necessarily played it or gone over someone's house and played it or seen it being played. I've only watched YouTube videos of gameplay and some YouTubers playing it. From what I understand, it's pretty linear. I mean, it's like you can upgrade your guns, or you can upgrade yourself, and then you get to harder and harder enemies, and I suppose it would be fun. It's not something that I'm necessarily into. It was kind of like the whole Dota thing or League thing, and that I never got into that. So I think Overwatch is probably going to be my pick of May over than Battleborn, to be honest.
Yeah. I think I'm going to be going with Overwatch as well, just purely because from what I can see, there was more time put into it, and it's more open than than Battleborn, in a sense that it's not so linear. It's very, what's the word? Asymmetrical. Overwatch is very asymmetrical, whereas Battleborn, from what I've heard, is linear. And I prefer asymmetrical gameplay.
Yeah. Man, I like Battleborn, and Overwatch, but here's another game that came out, Kendall. Doom. How do you feel about Doom?
Doom. Well, I haven't bought Doom myself, but I was really planning on until I saw some of the reviews. I mean, hats off to whoever made the music. I'm sorry, I'm so uninformed currently. But whoever made the music, hats off to them. They did a really good job with the music and reviving that at Hell's Gate.
Yeah.
And that just brought back some memories. I mean, I never really played the Doom games, but everybody who's been around in that kind of generation where, you know, Doom 2, Doom 3 were out.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows that theme tune. It's so iconic, and they did a really good job with the music, and the trailer looks so good, and the trailer does actually look like it is with the gameplay. However, I felt as if from what the reviews said that I watched, that the game was kind of short-lived and repetitive, and I realized that, you know, Doom has always been based on repetitiveness. You know, it's just blowing people's brains out with a shotgun constantly. But from what I've seen there, it's too much. It's too similar to other games currently. Like, it's taken aspects from Call of Duty and, you know, all these different games. You never used to be able to aim down the sights, and that's not a huge problem, but now you can. And, you know, there's like I'm pretty sure there's a double jump. I saw that somewhere.
Yeah, I did see that as well.
Yeah, all these kind of new things. I wanted to see Doom being revived,
like Mad Max. Yeah,
I just wanted to see it being revived as the other Dooms were, because I was really looking forward to playing the original Doom in a 3D engine. That's what I was hoping for, but, you know, still, to the developers, they did a really good job, not only with the graphics, but with the whole aspect of, you know, Unreal Tournament.
Yes.
That aspect of it, the multiplayer aspect, was a lot like Unreal Tournament, and I loved that game. That was really fun. You know, it's a little OP, but every game has its flaws, and I'm sure they are to be fixed in the future.
I enjoyed Unreal Tournament a lot. That was real fun. Even when it kind of was a little past its prime, I did enjoy it. If we're looking at Doom, you're looking at ID Software and Certain Affinity. Certain Affinity being the key developer there. Alongside ID Software, also the composer for Doom would have been Mick Gordon. So,
Mick Gordon.
Hats off to him for making the music there. I've seen him actually in a couple of things. For instance, he Killer Instinct, Wolfenstein, a lot of the Need for Speeds and stuff like that. He did those. That was we can't forget Crisis and Dead Space. He did work on those as well. He's actually had his here. Let me go ahead and pull him up here for a minute. He's had his hands in a lot of things. Looking at even Borderlands, some movies, in fact. But guess what we're gonna talk about here in a bit. He's had his work in Mirror's Edge. Want to speak a little to that?
Yeah, Mirror's Edge, the original, was absolutely great. I hadn't seen a parkour game quite like it before, and the fact that it was so available to, you know, because it was cheap as well. It was something like maybe $50, something like that. I can't remember the initial release price. But,
yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game. It was well developed, and there was nothing like it, which gave it that boost of originality that people were looking for. I mean, back when the original Mirror's Edge was released, that was when games were a lot more original than they are now. But still, it had that hint of I'm different, you know. But now they're working on a new game, Mirror's Edge Catalyst, and that is to release soon. Let me check on the release date here. But Mirror's Edge Catalyst, the story follows as Faith has gotten out of prison, and now she's free running again, escaping from the KSEC, I think it's called K Security, and she's running from them. That's the gameplay I've seen, and I gotta say, the graphics have definitely improved, but the gameplay is the same, and that kind of really disappointed me. I knew it was going to be the same right from the get-go, but I was looking for something a little more different, but it is just the same, which is, it's a little disappointing, but I will still definitely be giving the game a go because I loved the original so much.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to be playing through Catalyst as well.
I did enjoy Mirror's Edge. I'll let you know, Mirror's Edge actually did come out on the 24th, so that was 3 days ago. It was released.
I'm gonna be buying it.
It was released on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and on Origin for PC. Why? Everyone hates Origin. I'm pretty sure it's going to be on Steam here in a bit. Anyway, before we end here, I did want to talk about Mirror's Edge just a little bit more. I liked Mirror's Edge because, here's the thing. It was coming out right around one of the Crysis games, I believe, which Crysis, when it was coming out, I think it was like 2 or 3, I don't even remember, but when that was coming out and Mirror's Edge decided, hey, we're going to come out as well, there was like no news, it was complete, like, I wouldn't even say radio silence, it was no radio, okay? And when Mirror's Edge came out, everyone lost it. Because, of course, I mean, it was kind of like simple. Like, of course, why wouldn't you make a parkour game? But no one had ever thought about that or did it at that point in time when it came out. It was just like, yeah, you're your own thing at that point. That's great. You give someone basically a playground and the ability to do something that maybe they're not physically capable of, and creatively get from what is parkour, getting from point A to point B in the most creative way possible. So if you put that into a game form, it's of course going to be a great game. And I enjoyed Mirror's Edge. I received actually Mirror's Edge as a gift because my friend was like, hey dude, you got to check out this game, and he sent me a key on Steam. Like, cool, thanks man, whatever. Then I looked at the game and was like, this thing's awesome. You know, I love Mirror's Edge, the original Mirror's Edge, and I don't think I ever got to finish it. It's just
I don't think I actually did finish it.
I got towards the end.
I remember getting up to the finishing stages, but at that point it was just so difficult that I stopped playing.
Yeah, same here.
It's really easy at the beginning, but then you're doing these whole things like you're jumping across multiple pipes and rotating platforms and all that stuff, and it just got so difficult for me. Like, keep in mind, I'm pretty sure Mirror's Edge was released in 2012, and that means I must have been maybe 11 at the time. Actually, 11, and it was just so difficult for my small mind at the time to get my head around, like, when do I jump, when do I run? Whereas towards the beginning it was pretty easy. Just a little bit more on that. We're coming up to an hour here. I'm not sure how much longer we're going to be continuing this podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be a 2-parter, I'm thinking. Maybe
we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll have to do some cutting around here, but we'll get a timestamp here. Go ahead and finish your point, and I got one more thing to say, and then we'll see about time.
Yeah. So I just wanted to finish my point by saying I never remember. I don't remember there ever being a hype around Mirror's Edge, and I don't remember it being released. But you know, I my friend was like, "Yo, have you seen this game, Mirror's Edge?" And I'm like, "No, what is it?" And I was round his house. This was back in the days when it was like you're staying over, and it's like a parents arranged staying over thing. And we played Mirror's Edge till 6 in the morning, and that was just probably one of the best games I've ever played. Actually, it was really well made, really well developed, and I loved it to pieces.
Yeah, I think that was a really good game. I received it, like I said, through a Steam key and something like that, and that was a real nasty surprise, because then that was like, okay, well, here's the next 30 hours. But towards the end of that game, that's why I kind of stopped playing that, because it got really difficult. His story was getting intense, and it was really nice, but unfortunately, it seemed as if some of the indicators of where you're supposed to be going kind of turn off. It's like you kind of do have that color scheme of where you should be going, but then as soon as you kind of get things going, or if you get further along and you haven't really like progressed in your skill, things turn off, and it doesn't matter. You have to keep up with the game, not the game has to keep up with you, which is a little. I'm not sure if that's why the game kind of died there, but for a while people lost it, because that was a great game, and I'm glad that people. I'm surprised something hasn't like gotten redone from Mirror's Edge, but it's coming. Another game's coming out, so it's real interesting that Mirror's Edge has been able to kind of find their own making, kind of find their own market. Let me go ahead and see here. But do you want to leave it at that there, Kendall? That's pretty good.
Yeah, we're just gonna leave it there. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of User Joined Your Channel.
Yep.
And we'll see you in the next one. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.